Alright, so let's talk consolidation, data consolidation. Something that when I was trying to figure out how to do it, I could not find any YouTube video that was even remotely helpful on how to do this. So I think it's a very useful thing to have, something to know, especially when you have a lot of tables and you're trying to. One thing that I find I'm frequently doing is taking a bunch of stats from different sites, from different analysts, and then I'm compiling it into one mega table that I have, whether it's averaging them or just kind of taking various sources and putting them together. And it's a very time-consuming process when you don't know how to do something like data consolidation. So what I have here, I'm going to start from scratch in a moment, but I just want to show you what the final product looks like. So what I have here is I have all of the data from Jason, Mike, and Andy from the Fantasy Footballers. Love them. Highly recommend their podcast. But so they each have individual projections, and what I wanted to do was get the sum and the average of all of their projections. I just wanted to see, because they're very high on certain players, but maybe Andy hates that guy when Jason loves him. So I wanted to see kind of on average where these players fell, and they have their average rankings, but they don't have their average stats. So what I did is I took each of their stats and I brought them into their own table. So Andy, Mike, and Jason. And then what I did is I consolidated all this and then had it so it averaged out. And so that would be a really time-consuming thing to do a Vlookup for each one and then average it out. But there's a really easy tool that Excel has built in called data consolidation. So I'm going to show you how we do that. I'm going to start fresh. We'll go ahead and open up a new tab. We'll just call this consolidate to. All right. Let's move this over. All right, perfect. So what we're going to do is we're just going to click in this empty box right here, and we're going to go up to consolidate. So what it's going to do is it's going to ask you the function sum, count, average, max, min, all these things that you can do. I want the average because I'm looking for the average for all of these. So now it's going to ask for the reference. So it's asking where are you bringing this data in from. So what you can do is you can click this little button in the corner over here, and it's going to actually let you select where you're going. So I'm going to go over to Andy first, and then I'm just going to start from right here, and then we're just going to drag all the way down. And once we get down to the bottom here, I'll have you note something important here. So we're in column O, and we're in row 274. So I'm going to go ahead and hit enter, and as you can see it says Andy with the exclamation mark, and then it's locking in this area, and it goes to 274. So what I'm going to do is hit the plus sign, and that's going to pull him down as a reference. And now next I want to do Mike. So what I could do is I could go in here and I could delete this, and I could go, and we're going to go highlight the whole thing again. And I could come over here and I can highlight his whole name and scroll down. And while this isn't really that time consuming, if you have a lot of data, it could take a long time to kind of highlight this whole thing. And the reason I said to pay attention to that O274 is that is exactly where Mike's is too. So as you can see, the only thing that changed here at all was Andy's name to Mike. So what we can do is add in Mike, and now what we can do, since we know Jason has the exact same number as well, we can just delete Mike and then type in Jason. And now what we can do is hit plus, and then it added in Jason's data as well without us having to highlight the whole thing. So as long as you know that that range is the same, or if you even just write down the range that you need ahead of time, that way you don't have to highlight the whole thing. This can be helpful if you're crunching like thousands of numbers because you don't want to sit there and highlight all that. So next I'm going to hit create links to source data. This is important because anytime you make a change to one of these individual projection sources, it'll automatically adjust the overall average. If you don't have that link, it's basically just taking the data as is and then keeping it there no matter what you change to individual things. And then we're going to go ahead and use labels in the top row. That way we can keep the name, team, position, etc. Sorry, my dog's trying to get out. Calm down, bud. And then we're going to do left column as well, because that's just going to be the name of the player. And then we're going to go ahead and hit OK. And now as you can see, everything's pulled in and we get these crazy decimal places because everything's being averaged in. Now the only thing that you don't get to cooperate super well with this method is for some reason you get some blank here in B, but I just go ahead and delete that out and it doesn't change anything. And then the team and the position don't pull in correctly, and I am not honestly sure why it does that, but it's really not a big hassle. That's the only thing you have to fix. Everything else is completely fine in here. So what we can do is just do what we did in the old videos. We'll just do a VLOOKUP real quick, and we'll type in the name, and then we'll look it up in, what did we do earlier in the last video? We can do PROJ18, and then we can do 2, and then we can do 0. And there we go, we got the team. So then I can go ahead and just drag this down. Up. It doesn't work. So the reason that does not work correctly is because it's not just these names, it's not these individual. We also have the individual projections that are hidden. And this is important to know because sometimes it will freeze your computer if you kind of overwhelm it with that. So if you hit this 2, as you can see, there are all these gaps. So you can't just double click because it's not going to automatically go down when there's a gap like that. So you can still get the formula to work, but you're going to have to drag it down, which really isn't too much effort. And there you go. Thing is, you're going to get a couple of NAs. This is either some spellings that are slightly different. For example, Willie Snead I know is IV on Pro Football Focus, so that's why it's not coming in correctly. But if I went back into the data import and let me click on Willie Snead and show you guys what I mean. So Snead is IV. So what I can do is I can just take this out, and now Snead is no longer IV. And then if we come back to this Consolidate 2, as you can see, Snead now has the team. Other things that are common with this is like whenever a name is like AJ or JJ, DJ in this case, it's not working correctly because whoever else spelt it, wherever you're bringing it in from, spelled it slightly differently, or there was a junior at the end or a senior at the end, etc. So a way to just get rid of all that so you don't have to look at it in the meantime with all those errors is type in the if error again, like I said in the prior video, and you can just do quotes, and then we'll just drag this down again, and then we won't have to worry about those NAs, and we can go in and manually adjust those if we need to, but it's not a big deal to have those. And then the position, same thing, we can just do the Vlookup again, go to the name, oops, wrong one, there we go, and then proj 18, and then 3, 0, and remember our old friend being lowercase for some reason. I don't know why that bothers me so much, but it really does. So I'm going to change it to upper, and there we go. And then I'm going to do the same thing again just in case we have any errors. I don't really want to look at them right now. So then now that we have that, and just drag it down, and here we are. And all of their positions are all now imported. And as you can see, all of this data is all the average from the 3 analysts. So what you can do is just make it look a little bit better, highlight all the way down, and we'll just adjust these rules. And I like to have 1 decimal place. And then there you go. So that is the quickest way to pull together that table data. And it makes it a lot easier rather than having to manually go in and pull in all these sources. And a cool thing is, like, say Andy's projection for Aaron Rodgers, maybe he jumped up. This is going to be a huge exaggeration just so you can see the difference. So let's go back to Consolidate 2, and we see Aaron Rodgers 6 points per touchdown. 407.4 is what it says currently. But if I go into Andy's and I change his 36 touchdowns to 50 touchdowns, let's go back to the Consolidate. And now, as you can see, 435.4. So it is updating as you make changes to the individual tables.